Okay, so think about this for a second. Have you ever considered a product that seems, well, incredibly specific, maybe even a bit unsettling,
Hmm.
yet it's experiencing this really explosive growth globally? We're talking about something that, well, for many people, seems like a direct response to how the world is changing.
Yeah, it's a fascinating area.
Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take, a whole stack of information, research data, and we pull out the most important bits, the key insights for you.
That's right.
And today we're diving headfirst into the global market for bulletproof backpacks.
Bulletproof backpacks.
Our mission here for this deep dive is really to unpack the hard market figures, look at the, frankly, surprising growth trends, and crucially, get into the regional dynamics, maybe touch on societal factors driving this particular. And it is a fascinating industry.
Definitely. And we should mention our source for this. Oh, absolutely. All the insights we're discussing today, they come from a really comprehensive report by Cognitive Market Research. It's titled Bulletproof Backpacks: Global Market Growth Forecast.
It's a solid foundation for our chat.
Okay, so let's unpack this then.
Yeah,
When we talk about the global bulletproof backpacks market, the numbers from Cognitive Market Research are, well, they're quite striking.
they really are.
You're looking at a starting point of $169.5 million back in 2021.
Okay.
And this market is projected to more than triple. It's expected to reach an astounding $580.1 million by 2033.
Wow. Over that time frame.
Yeah, exactly. That works out to a consistent, pretty strong compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of 10.8% over more than a decade.
What truly stands out there isn't just the overall size, but like you said, the sustained trajectory it's on.
Yeah.
That kind of consistent expansion, especially in a product category like this, it really prompts a vital question, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What are the specific regional anxieties or perceptions of safety that are actually fueling this global trend? Right. And here's where the numbers start to tell a really compelling story. Maybe unsettling, like we said. North America.
Okay.
It isn't just a big market. It's dominant. This one region accounted for $68 million back in 2021.
68 million.
Yeah, and it's projected to hit over $225 million by 2033. It keeps that strong CAGR, 10.6%.
Pretty close to the global average then.
Exactly. And the United States, as you might expect, it leads the charge, projected to nearly triple its market size to almost $180 million over that same period.
Okay, that's the lion's share.
It is. But here's what's really captivating, I think. Look at the growth rates in its neighbors. Mexico, for instance,
Yeah.
forecast to grow even faster than the U.S., a really robust 12.3% CAGR.
Wow, okay.
And Canada also shows strong, consistent growth, around 11.4%.
That differentiation is key, isn't it? Well, concerns over school safety have undeniably driven a big chunk of the U.S. market.
Right, that's often the narrative.
Exactly. But Mexico's notably higher CAGR, it suggests different forces at play, maybe more widespread.
It points maybe to a broader sense of personal security needs, perhaps extending beyond just specific institutions. Could be tied to general crime rates, regional instability, something else.
So it challenges that single narrative.
It really does. We have to look beyond just one reason.
Okay. So North America, clearly a major force. But if we're looking for signs of how maybe global anxieties are shaping this market, let's shift gears. Let's look at Europe.
Right.
We see another significant market emerging there, though maybe perhaps differently motivated.
Potentially. What are the numbers like?
So Europe's market was valued at $32 million in 2021. It's expected to more than triple as well, hitting over $106 million by 2033. The CAGR is 10.5%, again, very close to the global average.
Okay, so similar overall growth trajectory to North America, roughly.
Roughly, yeah. But the breakdown is interesting. You have major economies like Germany and Russia showing solid, steady growth, around 10-11% CAGR.
Makes sense.
But what's particularly intriguing, I think, is the rest of Europe category.
The catch-all. Exactly. It shows one of the highest KGRs in the whole region, 11.8%.
Ah, that is fascinating. This varied growth across European countries, it suggests that while there's a general trend, the drivers aren't uniform, are they?
Doesn't seem like it.
That strong KGR in the rest of Europe could mean, well, maybe adoption is spreading into more diverse national markets, perhaps smaller ones, or different demographics.
Or maybe reflecting just a generalized increase in personal security awareness across the board.
Could be, or specific localized concerns, perhaps, that we don't hear as much about compared to the major economies.
Interesting. Okay, now let's travel, metaphorically speaking, to the Asia-Pacific region.
Right.
Because this region truly stands out. It's got the highest regional growth trajectory in this whole deep dive.
Okay, so faster than North America and Europe.
Yeah. The market started at $53.7 million in 2021. It's expected to basically quadruple, hitting over $205 million by 2033.
Quadruple, wow.
Yeah, and that gives it an impressive overall CAGR of 11.6%.
Okay, and within that region?
Well, China's a major contributor, as you'd expect, projected to reach over $80 million by 2033. But look at India.
Uh-huh.
India's growth is it's exceptional. It's showing a remarkable 12.4% CAGR.
12.4%, that's huge.
It makes it one of the fastest growing individual country markets anywhere in the world for this product.
That's really significant.
And South Korea, Australia, Southeast Asia, they also demonstrate really robust growth, over 11% CAGR generally. So it's broad-based regional demand.
Yeah, the Asia-Pacific region's standout growth, especially in places like India, is highly significant. It really speaks to a rapidly expanding demand in nations that are undergoing a massive socioeconomic transformation.
Right. It's not just about people having more money.
No, it's more complex. It often reflects, changing urban environments, increased mobility, and, well, unfortunately, often a heightened perception of personal vulnerability.
Which then drives consumers to seek protective solutions like these backpacks. Okay, let's turn our attention now to South America. We do see growth here, but definitely on a smaller scale compared to the regions we've just discussed.
Right, smaller base to start from, presumably.
Exactly. Brazil leads the market there. It's projected to reach about $9.4 million by 2033. Other countries like Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Chile, they're also showing consistent growth, mostly around the 10 Pacific CAGR mark, but the overall dollar figures are smaller.
So growth is there, but the market size is just not comparable to, say, Asia-Pacific or North America yet.
Not yet, no. And finally, let's quickly look at the Middle East and Africa.
Okay.
Again, growth is present. Countries like Egypt, Turkey, they show some expansion. But the overall CAGRs in this region, they're comparatively lower than the global average.
How much lower?
Well, the rest of the Middle East category, for example, is showing about a 6.6% KTR. Turkey's around 7.8%. Egypt 7.7%.
That lower growth rate in the Middle East and Africa is worth noting. It suggests, well, different market dynamics maybe, or perhaps different adoption rates.
Could be various factors.
Yeah, possibly socioeconomic factors play a bigger role. Maybe existing security infrastructure looks different, or perhaps even cultural perceptions of threat vary compared to other parts of the world.
So maybe it's just a market in its earlier stages for this specific product.
That seems plausible, yes.
Okay. So let's try and pull this all together. What does it all mean when you put these numbers side by side for you listening?
Yeah, what's the big picture?
It's clear the bulletproof backpack market isn't just growing. It feels like it's transforming, maybe becoming a sort of pervasive indicator of shifting global anxiety.
That's a strong way to put it, but yeah, it feels like that.
North America, it remains the absolute leader in terms of dollars, no question. But we're seeing this fascinating, even faster growth in percentage terms in places like Mexico and India.
Reflecting those unique local drivers we talked about.
Exactly. Asia-Pacific as a whole region is accelerating rapidly. China, India, Southeast Asia contributing significantly.
The powerhouse region for growth.
Right. And even in those regions with maybe slower overall growth, like the Middle East and Africa, the market is still expanding. So it's not just a regional thing. It feels worldwide, touching really diverse economies and cultures.
What's truly striking to me is that contrast. The sheer scale of the U.S. market. Yet some of the absolute highest individual country growth rates are in places like India and Mexico. It just illustrates the complex global nature of this market's expansion. It's driven by all these diverse local factors. It's not just concentrated in, one or two key areas.
And it tells us something profound, maybe, about how perceptions of safety and security are evolving.
I think so. Across different cultures, different economies, it seems to be becoming this fundamental concern that's actually translating directly into consumer product demand.
Okay, so to quickly recap our deep dive then, the global market for these bulletproof backpacks, it's experiencing pretty surprising and significant growth right across the board.
Yeah, driven by a real complex interplay of regional dynamics and, well, those evolving perceptions of safety we keep coming back to.
Definitely.
Which leads to the final thought, perhaps. What does this consistent, robust growth in a market like this, what does it ultimately tell us about our world today? Is it simply, a reflection of increased awareness and just a new product category finding its niche? Or does it signal something more fundamental, a deeper shift in how societies and how individuals are approaching personal security as we look ahead?
That is a question worth pondering. Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we cut through the noise, try to get you genuinely well-informed on complex topics.
That's the goal.
Today, we're plunging into a market that, well, it seems kind of jarringly out of place in everyday life at first glance.
It definitely stands out.
Yet it's rapidly evolving and, it's raising some pretty profound questions about public safety. We're talking about the global bulletproof backpacks market.
A sensitive area for sure.
Absolutely. We're unpacking this using insights from a recent report by Cognitive Market Research. We want to understand what's really driving its growth, what hurdles it faces, some maybe unexpected, and, well, where it's all headed next.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's unpack this. So kicking things off.
Yeah.
What's really at the heart of this market's, let's say, surprising ascent? What are the core reasons we're seeing more of these bulletproof backpacks around?
Well, the Cognitive Market Research report really points to one main thing, growing public safety concerns. I mean, that's the primary driver. We're talking about a noticeable increase in things like school shootings and broader public violence, particularly in North America. That's where it's most pronounced.
Right, you see the headlines.
Exactly. And this has really prompted parents, school administrators, even public officials to start looking for, practical safety measures.
Understandable.
And so as a kind of direct response, these bulletproof backpacks have sort of quietly emerged. They're seen as a discreet yet potentially effective personal protection solution.
That makes a lot of sense, sadly, given what we often hear. But it's not just parents and schools looking at these, is it? Who else is adopting this kind of technology?
No, you're right. It definitely extends beyond that. The report shows adoption by law enforcement agencies, various security personnel, too. For them, these aren't just, purely protective items. They're more like dual-purpose tools. Well, they blend that ballistic defense capability with everyday utility. Think about it, they look like regular backpacks. This makes them incredibly valuable for, say, undercover agents or maybe urban responders, people who need agility but also discretion out in the field.
Agility and discretion.
Exactly. That blend is key for those groups.
It really sounds like a kind of tragic necessity is driving a lot of this market. But are we also seeing advancements technologically that are making these products just more viable beyond the demand itself?
Absolutely. Technology is a huge piece of this puzzle. The report really highlights the crucial role of recent advancements in lightweight ballistic materials.
Like what kind of materials?
We're talking about things like aramid fibers. Kevlar is a well-known brand name there, and also UHMWPE. That's ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene.
Okay, UHMWPE.
Yeah.
Bit of a mouthful.
Yeah. Basically, think incredibly strong yet incredibly light plastic fibers. These materials have fundamentally changed what's possible. They've made these protective products far more wearable, much more practical, and frankly, marketable for daily use.
So more comfortable, easier to carry around.
Exactly, which enhances both comfort and, really importantly, consumer acceptance.
Yeah.
People are more willing to use something that doesn't feel like, wearing body armor.
That's a powerful combination then, the demand meeting the innovation. But look, it can't all be straightforward growth, can it? What are the significant roadblocks? What's limiting wider adoption?
Yeah, there are definitely hurdles. The report points out several key restraints. A major one is simply the high cost.
Ah, the price tag.
Right. Because of those expensive ballistic materials we just talked about, and also the rigorous compliance testing they have to go through. These products end up being priced significantly higher than regular bags.
I imagine so.
And that, unfortunately, limits accessibility, particularly for, say, lower-income families. It's a stark reminder, really, that safety often comes with a cost.
That certainly creates an access issue, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Beyond cost, though, what about legal or regulatory things? Are there hurdles there if someone wants to buy one?
That's a really critical point. The market definitely faces legal restrictions, and some regulatory complexities, and it varies by region.
Yeah.
For example, some countries just outright prohibit civilians from owning or using any ballistic gear. Full
Yeah.
stop.
Okay.
In other places, you might find more ambiguous laws, maybe around import regulations or how these items are classified. And that ambiguity creates pretty significant roadblocks for manufacturers who want to expand globally. It's not like buying just any old backpack online.
Much more complex.
Mhm.
And then thinking beyond the practicalities like cost and legality,
Yeah.
how well do consumers actually get what they're buying? Is there maybe a knowledge gap that makes people hesitant?
Oh, absolutely. The report points to a significant lack of consumer awareness and also a lack of standardization, or at least understanding of standardization in protection levels.
What do you mean by that?
Well, many users, for instance, simply do not understand what, say, NIJ level Type 3A actually means.
Which is?
So NIJ level Type EA, that certification indicates protection against most handgun rounds. That's important. But it does not typically stop rifle fire.
Ah, okay, that's a crucial distinction.
It really is. And it often gets overlooked or misunderstood. This leads to, safety misperceptions. People might think they're protected against threats they aren't. And that, understandably, leads to purchase hesitancy. If you don't really know what it does, or worse, you have false assumptions.
Well, that's a real barrier.
Yeah, you need to know exactly what you're getting. Okay, so considering all these factors, then the drivers, the challenges, the tech, and what's on the horizon, what does the future look like for this unique market? Well, the Cognitive Market Research Report points to some really interesting emerging trends. One development that stood out is how manufacturers are creating more child-friendly backpack designs.
Child-friendly, how does that work?
They're incorporating the protective panels, but alongside things like cartoon characters, softer aesthetics, trying to make it look less, intimidating. What's kind of insightful or maybe complex is how they're trying to navigate this really delicate balance, right? Offering protection, but trying not to instill unnecessary fear or stigma in the child using it.
Or normalizing something quite serious.
Exactly. It raises some questions about, what this means for childhood, for perceptions of safety. It's tricky.
That's certainly a unique approach.
Yeah.
But beyond just being protective gear, are these backpacks evolving, becoming something more?
They absolutely are. We're seeing a rising trend of integrating smart technology.
Like what? Built-in GPS.
Could be, but more commonly things like RFID blocking pockets, to protect cards. Built-in USB charging ports are becoming common. Intelligent compartment layouts designed for tech.
Ah, practical stuff.
Right. These features really elevate the backpacks. They move into that category of lifestyle gear, appealing to professionals, students, people who value convenience and connectivity just as much as the safety aspect.
Given everything we've discussed, it really makes you wonder, what would it take for these products to shift from being a niche item to something more commonly accepted? Is that even on the cards? What might bridge that gap?
That's a great question. One key factor the report mentions is strategic partnerships.
With who?
We're seeing more collaborations happening with schools, for example, and with corporate security programs.
Okay, interesting.
And these seem to be playing a pretty big role in sort of normalizing the idea of personal ballistic protection.
How are they doing that?
Through things like offering bulk discounts, maybe, or running educational outreach initiatives. It's about building both trust and visibility. And it signals potentially a growing acceptance of these backpacks as, maybe everyday safety essentials for some people.
Right. So we've just navigated a pretty deep dive here into the global bulletproof backpacks market. We've unpacked its surprising drivers, some significant challenges, and these fascinating trends shaping its future.
It's quite the intersection.
It really is a unique intersection of safety, technology, and shifting societal dynamics. Hopefully you, listening, feel well-informed now on a market that's genuinely evolving right before our eyes.
And maybe just a final thought to leave with everyone. This deep dive, looking closely at bulletproof backpacks, it really raises an important question, doesn't it? As these kinds of personal safety solutions become more integrated into our daily lives, how might our very perceptions of what counts as an everyday essential continue to shift, especially in the face of these evolving societal concerns about safety? Something to think about.